Cult of the Lamb, made by Massive Monster and published by Devolver Digital, sees you oversee a cult made in your honor, as you bless your followers and strike down foes, all to appease your greater masters. I asked Devolver Digital for a review copy of this, and they gracefully sent me one. This won't affect the content of this review, but it's just a disclaimer to be completely transparent. With that out of the way, let's look at this little beast. If you watched my demo review, some of this will sound familiar, so bear with me. In this game, you play as a lamb, last of your kind, and you are to be sacrificed. But you are instead granted a boon by the Great One that your death was meant to seal away. So now, you get a sweet new crown and some wicked powers. Now it's time to make like a lamb to the slaughter. Except, you're the one bringing the slaughter. The game is half town management sim, half roguelite dungeon crawler. Each part complements the other as you progress further along. Get materials from the dungeon so you can craft things for your followers, which in turn will make them happy and devoted to you, allowing you to power up so you can do the dungeons better. Simple enough to grasp, but both sides will evolve quite dramatically as you progress. The art style of this game is very cute. Have you noticed? From the woodlands you inhabit, to the fact we're all chibi anthropomorphic animals, everything is drawn and animated in an adorable fashion that is meant to contrast with the fact that what we're doing is quite dark and twisted. The game knows it is, and runs away with both its macabre antics and its endearing presentation. A great detail that stuck out to me is when you're preaching to your followers in church. If you perform a ritual, everyone gets super into it, pulling hoods up, standing in a circle, and then the menacing procession starts as we get a unique ceremony based on what we're doing, with reality warping and becoming twisted from the dark powers we invoke, and then we throw our hoods back and have a good laugh at what fun that all was. It reminds me of children playing pretend, like these critters aren't fully aware of what we're actually doing here. You know, kinda like a real cult. Special props need to go to the music, which carries the rhythms of the game fantastically. Things are nice and relaxing as we manage our town, all things chipper and cheerful, but in dungeons, things become more erratic, with a faster tempo and a more pronounced beat. And with all tracks is a layer of something sinister. Sometimes it's not as pronounced. Sometimes it's very loud. The sound of this music is so unique. I haven't heard anything quite like it before. A mixture of chanting and electronic remixing. It's incredible. The main menu theme especially. It feels like I'm standing on the precipice of something both dark but beautiful. An incomprehensible wonder that I'm somehow being drawn into. I love it. Moving on to playing the game, I'm going to be swapping between its two loops here, just as you'll be doing in the game. Let's start with your little compound. Things begin pretty basically. You have a single follower, and you can tell them what to do. But to get anything done efficiently, you're going to have to step in and take charge. Fret not, however, as these menial tasks are but the back-breaking tilling of the soil before reaping a bountiful harvest. Getting more followers means getting more things done without any effort on your part. Have them gather you resources, build new structures of practical and spiritual value, or have them pray and worship you, as faith in you, their great benevolent leader, will grow your own power and influence. But things won't progress fast enough here unless you embark on a holy crusade. Dungeoneering is pretty straightforward. You begin, are given a weapon and a magic ability, called curses, and begin exploring. In these heretical lands, you'll find monsters and followers of false prophets who wish to stop you. Your objective is to slay the bishops who wanted to sacrifice you earlier by making it to the end of the dungeon. Only, the door to the big boss fight will only open after beating the dungeon several times, and taking out a few of their more dedicated followers. That might seem arduous on the surface, but the secondary reason you're here is, paradoxically, much more important than your primary motivation. You're here to loot the place. It's not like how it is in the camp, gently gathering materials with your best buddies. You are here to pillage and plunder you shall. Food for your flock, coins for your coffers, materials for your manse, even new followers. willing to join you are all rewards for you to pursue. You even choose how you want to progress through a dungeon, so you can prioritize whatever it is you need the most. Oh, also, remember to collect the bones of your enemies. Those are very important. Make sure you desecrate their corpses and collect those. Why? Because it's a good way to celebrate a job well done. It is a wonderful aspect of this game that your followers feel like individuals. You can even change their names and their appearance when you get them for that little personal touch. It may seem somewhat horrifying to turn someone into an entirely different species, but they don't seem to mind. They even have little strengths and weaknesses to just give them that little bit extra humanity? You can also choose what to name your actual cult, so I thought of the most wicked cult I could. But then I realized I would see that name all the time in-game, so I went with something else instead. No, it's okay. I'm allowed to make this joke. I already have a shrine to Tetsuya Nomura. Keeping the faith is paramount to keeping your cult in good shape. If people don't believe, then problems will arise, such as dissenters and rebels. And it only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch, so make sure you take appropriate measures to contain this. But you want to avoid things getting this bad as much as possible, so to do that, we keep everyone happy. One way to do this is by gracing these people with your presence. Show them you care by helping them with a project, bestowing blessings and gifts upon them, and hearing them out when they want to make a request, even if their request is troubling. Dude, why? Constructing new buildings will also help them see that this life that you've, blessed them with isn't so bad, even if you're asking them to help build you graves. Yes, your followers are sadly mortal, unlike you, and they may one day perish. It might be of old age, or maybe some other reason. But if you don't meet the basic needs of survival for these animals, you're going to end up swimming in graves. So make sure that everyone has enough to eat. Make sure everyone has a bed to sleep in. And make sure the environment is kept clean and tidy so they don't get sick. And then make the environment even more untidy. Until you can automate much of the process later in the game, you're going to have to keep a close eye on what your followers want, need, and are currently doing. Because no matter where you are and what you're doing, time is always passing, and there's no telling what these critters are going to do while you're away. Don't worry about yourself though. You are the risen dead. You don't really have a need for eating, sleeping, or using the bathroom, which means you are free to whittle away time in the dungeon whenever you want. And to help you on your way are animal allies who will aid you when you see them, such as a tarot card reader who will grant you various buffs, the blacksmith who will arm you with weapons and magic, and plenty more, each with different things to offer, even if it's sometimes just a story to tell you. While the mechanics of the dungeons aren't as deep as other games you may have played, it does offer a quite nicely balanced experience. I never felt too overpowered nor too underpowered on any particular run. The RNG isn't likely to get in the way of your fun here. And fun it is, because the combat is really quite surprisingly satisfying. All actions have a nice meaty punch to them. Enemies are shockingly clear and readable most of the time. I'm always totally aware of when I can and can't hit an enemy despite the 2D art style. Dodge rolling out of the way of incoming strikes is the main name of the game, while sneaking blows in from your melee weapons and from afar with your cursors. There's also a good variety to your arsenal. Sword, dagger, axe, claws, and hammer might not sound like much, but with some upgrades you can have poison or even vampiric weapons that heal you as you fight, or even necrotic weapons that will unleash the souls of the slain to do a bit of extra damage on your behalf. The curses too come in many forms, and also have type variants that bolster what they do. They are limited in use, and you do need to gather these red fervor orbs from dead enemies to power up your next usage. I was nervous about this system because wouldn't that mean that in boss fights I wouldn't get any more magic than what I've brought into it? But thankfully, the developers thought of that, and on bosses you gain fervor for every hit you make instead. The bosses themselves are also fun and enjoyable, but I'll let you discover them. I don't want to spoil too much of this game. I also don't want to spoil the story, but I'll say it satisfies you quite well as you move through the narrative. Taking out these bishops to prove yourself as the true faith in these lands is quite a compelling through line to follow. Yes, we should talk about developing your cult and the core beliefs of the religion. of you. Alongside delivering your daily sermons at your church, you can develop new commandments for your people to follow. These are divided into a variety of different categories that focus on different aspects of your day-to-day life, but a great feature is that each upgrade you earn comes in the form of a wildly different choice. You may only pick one of these, and they are permanent. No take-backsies. Be sure in what you want to define your belief. I love this because it really personalizes your cult. You're building things up the way you want to, and if you have friends that are playing, their cult could look wildly different to yours. Be the happy group of grass eaters, or the crazy compound of cannibals. Sometimes I chose a path just because I found the option it gave me more fun sounding, even if the other option offered might have had better rewards. That's a sign of a good system. It also potentially gives you replay value if you want to play again. Even marriage is an optional thing to consider, and if you do, there's no limit on how many spouses you can have. Don't worry, your people are happy with that. At least, not your older partners anyway. Oh, don't worry about my people's strange hypnotized eyes. That just came from our special ritual, where I forced them to ingest psychedelic mushrooms to ensure that they stay loyal to me. There are other rituals you can perform to earn bonuses, some that are less worrying than drugging my flock, and some that are maybe much, much more. Some of these can be immensely helpful though, granting bonuses that completely change how you play. Bonuses that change how you play? Surely I'm talking about how different floors in dungeons can have modifiers that grant random effects and bonuses, or how, after clearing a dungeon, enemies get harder, but more rewards open up for you. Going through a dungeon or boss without getting hit can also grant you bonus resources. And then there are the fleeces to unlock, which can radically change your actual playstyle. Or how you can have a follower possessed by a demon so that they can come in and help you with the dungeon? Whew. Okay, you have a lot of options. There's more to do than just pillage and village though. There are also neighbours you can visit, friendly cults who will follow you if you can help them in their personal areas of worship, granting rewards and places to shop. There are also minigames to take part in, and their own rewards that come with them, such as fishing, which grants you fish. Obviously. There's also a unique gambling minigame. You've got to roll the dice and make columns of the highest value to win, adding your own score or taking away your opponent's. There's multiple different people to face off with, and I really got quite hooked to this one, and I don't know why. It almost reminded me of something, but I can't quite... Oh dear lord. No, don't worry, this is way easier and way more fun. And a nice way to earn a little extra spending money. Suckers. So that's the game. All its individual pieces and how they operate. When taken bit by bit, one could say that while all its components are very accessible compared to its peers, things aren't as deep either. But this is the magic of this game, where all of its little systems interlock and feed into one another and create something greater than the sum of its parts. Crucially as well, all of this simulation synergy makes the game very hard to put down. You always have something on your mind, something you want to be getting on with, something to work towards. Every time you see a part of your town that you think can be improved, it sticks in your mind. You just need some more materials, more followers to get it all done, a few more upgrades, and then you can automate another process that you keep having to come back to the camp for. Okay, so let's go out and get what we need. Oh god, my cult needs me again? Well, I better hurry through this and get back to sort them out. While I'm here, I could build a few new things, arrange some stuff for the next project. Oh, it's a new day now. Well, that means we can have a new sermon, maybe instill a new commandment while I'm here. Better make sure everyone has something to do around here. I don't want any lazy bones and— Oh god, when did it become 3 AM? Anyway. What do you want? That bastard. Despite the fact I cannot stop playing this game, I do have some criticism. Number one being that it can be very hard to select something specific when managing your cult, especially when your population really begins to grow. Talk to someone in a crowd and I usually talk to the wrong person the first couple of times. Navigating myself to help out a bunch of people making a building to get it done faster is like trying to find a free place to sit down on the London Tube during rush hour. Secondly, I think you get the commandments a little too quickly. I was halfway through the game when I basically got all of them. You earn the decrees themselves by earning all the pieces of a commandment tablet, and primarily you're going to do that by leveling up your followers. But that's quite easily done, and with a lot of followers comes a lot of levels and a lot of tablets. I wouldn't have minded if we had to collect 4 pieces to make one instead of 3, or if we had to make multiple ones for higher level decrees. It just feels like I should still be growing, and yet I suddenly stop before I finish with other aspects of the game. Some parts of your base can't be automated, and so it turns to you to always have to sort them. That could be fine. Needing a reason to return to your base is acceptable, and arguably a smart design decision. Except, while I'm okay being the cook for my camp, do I really have to be the one who unclogs the toilets? Can't someone else do it? That doesn't sound like the duties of the Messiah to me. You might think the game's kind of easy early on, I certainly did, but things escalate very quickly as you go forward, so I guess that's fine. Yeah, these criticisms are minor at best. Nothing manages to really tarnish the solid core, or cores, of this experience. As this is a review copy, I should point out that I played this on PC. I had no problems running it at 4K on my 2080 Super. You might think, no duh, looking at it, but these things have happened before. Cult of the Lamb is downright devilish fun. I've loved wrecking my way through dungeons, purging heretics with my sword, and also keeping my followers in line and believing in their chosen leader. Chosen by God, I mean. Not by them. I choose them to work for me forever. If I have to be honest, the game reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5. Building up your base, getting new followers to join you, and adventuring out into the world to bring things back to speed things along. I guess it's a winning formula, because Cult of the Lamb pulls it off magnificently. It also looks like we'll be getting some updates down the line, so that's something to look forward to. Don't let the words roadmap scare you though. This is a full experience. I was satisfied by the end of it. Isn't that a novelty? It is insatiably wicked and absolutely worth your time. It's out on almost every modern platform, and I absolutely recommend checking it out. Cult of the Lamb is truly mint. Sauce. When you walk away.